Kia ora koutou and welcome to our Ngā Mānukanuka o te Iwi Committee meeting of the 13th of November. If I could just invite Tiwana to open us with a karakia, please, as opposed to doing our normal opening karakia.
Kia ora everyone, I see this one up there.
You don't have to do that one.
Yeah, I thought I'd do one as a presentation of who we are and where we came from.
Ai.
Nā mai e tama, nā mai e hene kia tohi atu koe ki te tohi nuku, ki te tohi rangi. Ki te tohi ahu poke a hene te iwi wana ana koe I puha ki tāo. Ki tohi atu koe ki te tohi a tāne te wai ora. Ko te tohi a whinuku, ko te tohi a whirangi. Ko te tohi o te ora, ko te oro ora atua. No te whare ki I mātangi reia. Kia tohi atu koe ki te tohi. Ha rongo mātāne, he rongo take, he rongo mautonu, he rongo mautonu. Kia tākina te tinana e hine, kia tākina te tinana e tama. Wai, te tinana whakakaha te tinana. Ko tō tinana, ko tōku tinana, ka puritia ki kia mau. Peki ki runga I te ara o tā whaki nei, ki mihi ranga haua, pēnei ia pātei tarānei. Ka noho tātei raro I tēnei te whakaruru hau. O tō tātanei whare, kia whai oranga tātai ro te tēnei te kaunihero ahuriri. Tēnei te karanga, tēnei te reo mai, kia ko tēnei uhia te korawai ki rungia mātai nei. Wā tātanei hoai ro te I te kaunihero wā tātanei, e ki rā nei. Rātau e pupuri te mana o tō rātanei marae. Kia hui tātai kia whakakotoi ai o tātanei whakaro nei, ki anga whakamoe I runga tēnei āwhatanga. Tō kahu, tōku kahu, ko te kahu, ko whakaringe ki rungia tātou nei. He kahu whakarewa tēnei ki e kōrura ki kia tātou nei, tūturo whiti whakamaua kia tina. Tina hau mea hui e. Ai e.
E kore mone ute
Pumahara. Tira o nehera, nara tau I tō te nuku noa. O te mona nui a kiwa e papatu anu upu. Ko mātou o rātou tapu ai, I ka hutia I runga I te mata o te whenua. He taonga, he tapu, he taonga, he tapui.
Kia ora ngā mihi. And a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on Council's Facebook page. We have apologies today from Crystal Haimona and Deputy Mayor Brosnan. If I could have a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Kirk. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Are there any conflicts of interest? Announcements from myself. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Sir Robert Gillies, who was, of course, the last surviving member of the 28th Māori Battalion and was laid to rest alongside his wife in Rotorua yesterday. A very sad day for the whole of the nation, and want to just take that moment to acknowledge that.
Yes, and I'd like to support that because the Māori kohatu outside is called Te Hoka Whitua Tū,
Yes.
which is the beginning of the Māori Battalion, and they fought in the First World War. So that link is always here.
Yes. Thank you, Tiwana. Are there any minor matters not on the agenda for discussion? Announcements by management? Confirmation of the minutes of the committee meeting held on Thursday, the 29th of August 2024. If I could have a mover and seconder for whoever was in attendance on that day, if you can recall. Thank you, Evelyn. I think I was here, so I will second that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against and carried. So we will move right into our agenda items. We've got some pretty hefty agenda items today. First up, we have our housing strategy, which Anne Bradbury is presenting to us. And also just as a reminder that because this committee meeting was actually postponed, these papers have actually gone in the reverse order of what they normally would have gone, and they've already been adopted by council. But we did want to ensure that they still came through and that we could receive feedback, obviously, from Ngā Mānukanuka o te iwi, because that is vitally important. But just so you're aware, we are a little bit out of sync, unfortunately. So, Anne, I will pass across to you.
Tēnā koutou. Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor have said, this was meant to come to this committee in the middle of October. However, that was postponed until now. I also had a resolution to take this back to council for approval in October, and as the Mayor has said, the strategy has already been approved by council. I'll just run you through it now. So we started developing the draft housing strategy last year, and we brought the draft strategy to a workshop late last year and to a committee meeting in May. There's been some amendments since the meeting in May, and the amendments have been made following consultation on the 3-year plan and further re-engagement with partner and stakeholders. The changes are outlined in the paper, and the main change is the focusing of the council's housing portfolio to older people, which follows the engagement we had on the 3-year plan. There are a few other minor amendments that are outlined in the paper. One thing to note is this strategy is not the end. Officers will continue to work to implement the strategy in the 3 focus areas that the council is engaged in. So focus area 1 is homelessness, and council has a role as an advocate and a connector in this space. We are starting the process to create a regional action plan with other local councils across Te Matua Māui, and we're only at the beginning of this process as the councils are all at different stages, but we've all agreed to work together to come up with an action plan to help support our homeless whānau. Our focus area 2 is the housing portfolio, and this went through the 3-year plan process as part of a housing review. And there was another paper that was presented to council meeting on the 31st of October that outlined the next stages, which is essentially to go out for an expression of interest process before the end of the year for selling our 3 social housing villages. And then the third focus area is our regulatory and provision of housing, and that's covered under our city strategy. So there is a future development strategy, which is part of that. So there's lots of other actions coming out of that focus area as part of our district plan and future development strategies. So that's all from me, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Anne. I'll open up to committee members for any questions that you might have.
For you, Madam Chair.
Yep.
Tēnā koe ana. I just wanted to, there were interviews for local Māori housing providers. Who are those Māori housing providers?
Forgotten the name, but the development arm of Mana Ahuriri.
They're not a provider yet.
No.
They're still going through process.
Yes, they are. Sorry, agree with you, yes. But we interviewed them as they are developing housing, Mana Ahuriri's housing provider.
So what have they given you in terms of some of the stats or some of the information?
No, they've given us a lot of information. So we interviewed a bunch of people right back at the beginning. So Housing Aotearoa, Ministry Housing of Urban Development, Kāinga Ora, Mana Ahuriri, Councillor Bogue, who else did we interview? K3, and so those stakeholders help provide the vision where am I? I'm just looking
Can I
through.
just also say
Yep.
K3 is no longer in this picture?
Yep.
So are you still utilising their information?
No, so they all help provide, I guess, their thoughts and their values for housing, the housing space. So the housing strategy isn't just about the provision of housing, it's about people that are sleeping rough right through to owning your own home. So there's a whole, yeah. So they, all the information that was provided and we worked with them helped provide the vision, the three, the principles and the role and everything in the strategy. Yep.
Just to follow on from by Bev's, could you just specify who the Māori housing provider was?
It was the development arm of Mana Ahuriri.
So not a housing Māori provider?
So they're a housing developer.
Yeah, but they're not a provider. Not yet.
Yeah, okay, yep,
So you probably need to change that until that actually happens.
okay.
So Bev and Cheyenne, is there a Māori housing provider here in Ahuriri who know that we could have engaged in this process? No. So other than the other housing providers such as Kāinga Ora, Aotearoa New Zealand, etc., who Anne listed, I think probably the next option in terms of having that iwi engagement was through Mana Ahuriri Holdings with their future intention to obviously become a housing provider with the developments that they have in progress. But very good point raised that they're not currently a housing provider. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think through the chair, though they may not be housing in that business, they are. We have got a commercial arm who do this stuff.
They're still not a provider.
Houses, eh?
They are not a provider.
Not a provider.
No. They're still going through their process of development.
Yeah. I think it's providing that clarity that they're currently in the development space in terms of having a number of developments that are in progress, and as a part of that in the future, they may well become housing providers if they decide that that's part of their offering that they're going to do with their developments. So,
And part of the Mana Ahuriri Holdings Company is to come and talk to the mana whenua before going out to the public.
yes. Yeah. Any further questions? And I guess as Anne said, this is still very much at the start of this journey, and there are action plans which will be further developed out of this strategy in terms of how we do work collectively to meet the housing needs of our community. And we know we have some challenges here in Ahuriri, and it will take that collective and collaborative effort to meet those challenges that we have ahead of us. So if there's no further questions, or if there's any general discussion that anyone would like to have before I ask for a mover and seconder.
Just a couple, sorry, Anna. So it talks about the housing outcomes, and it's got around the climate resilience. What is the climate resilience?
Are you able to point me to the page?
5. I don't know, I'm just taking all my notes from my readings. I'm just taking it as solar, wind, water, eco. Is that what that involves to be climate resilient?
Yes, and also things like insulation and double glazing and healthy homes. Yeah.
It also talks about the housing aspirations of iwi and hapu and the treaty-based housing approaches. Can you talk me through specifics on the treaty-based housing approaches?
That's not something I can talk in detail about. That's something that we would need to talk to our treaty-based partners about. So when we are developing the future development strategy, which is about making sure there's enough housing capacity across the countries, across the region. That's something that we're working with Mana Ahuriri on. And yeah.
I'll give you an example of what, for us, a treaty-based housing approaches. And you probably already heard that Utaina o Mahu have got a papakainga based on their marae. That's a treaty approach.
Yes.
Is that something that is part and parcel of this?
Yes, and that's something that we'll be looking at through, that's would be part of our district plan, so I can have a chat to our colleagues in the district plan team to see if that's part of their approach, but yes.
That was a collaboration of agencies with
Yep.
MB and TPK
Yep.
and all that. So is that what part of the strategy will be?
Yep, so that can be we can look into that as part of implementing the strategy, yes.
Just through the chair, the difficulty there was that many of our marae are not in our boundary, they're actually
Yes.
in the Hastings boundary, so we need to work through that in the district plan and how do we work that together through that area. We've only got a small portion of Māori land within the Napier
Yeah.
area, so yeah.
Sally?
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. Just so that I've got my head straight, Anne, I was wondering, can you confirm for me so that our role with this strategy is really as enablers and regulators? So when Whai Bev is asking about, the aspirations of our mana whenua, really it's that we enable them as best as possible, but that they would lead out on those types of activities. Is that fair to say?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Crown, that is fair to say. I think it mentions in the report and in the strategy that council cannot do this all by ourselves. There's so many people or players or organisations or partners or stakeholders that are involved in this space. So yes, we will be looking for support and action and along the way.
But just to clarify,
Yeah.
we are not developers.
No, we're not
We are not
developers.
building the home, etc. So
Yeah.
it's our role is as regulators
Yes.
and as enablers
Yes,
through the tools
connectors.
that we have
Yeah.
with our district plan, with the future development strategy, etc. But perhaps some of the projects that she was talking about, those are led by our
Yes.
treaty partners.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kia ora.
And one more, sorry. Part of the percentage in there looks at 6,700 more houses for ahuriri over a period of 30 years. Is that something that, because that's a lot of housing in a small space, we don't have that much land. So what's the research that's been done to allow for 6,700 homes?
Yeah, there are a lot of constraints around ahuriri, including sort of natural hazards and other issues. Our city strategies team has been looking at that. So they've recently notified their proposed district plan and also with the future development strategy. So as part of the future development strategy, there's looking at how much capacity we need to have in terms of houses, but also industrial area. And so we are linking with Hastings on that and part of the district plan as well. So in terms of sort of upzoning or whether you go up or out and all that kind of stuff is all done through the district plan and the future development strategy.
Thank you. You will update us, though, as we go along in the strategy?
Yep.
There's no further questions. Just with regards to the officer's recommendation, we will be removing Part B about the recommendation to go to Council for adoption, as I said, that has already happened. So it will just be Part A to endorse the housing strategy as shown and discussed today. If I could ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Bev.
Yep.
Thank you, Kirk. And would you like to speak to that, Bev?
Do I have to? I've had enough. I've had
You
enough
don't have
say.
to.
No.
Would you like to speak to that, Kirk? Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Anne. And next we have the update on the Climate Action Joint Committee and Coastal Hazards Strategy, which I've got showing, yes, I've got Paulina, but Welcome to Michelle and Connie. Good to have you both with us today.
Tēnā koutou te committee, ko hui mai nei ki tēnei hui, ki te kōrero i nā kaupapa i tēnei wā. Ko Michelle Gregg tōku ingoa, he kaimahi ahau i te konihura o Ahuriri. Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora koutou, my name is Michelle Gregg and I'm here with my colleague Connie Mills. We're kind of doing a two-part act on this paper. It's covering two topics. So I'll be speaking today to the update on the Climate Action Joint Committee, which Ngā Mānukanuka asked for in your meeting earlier this year, I understand. So rather than go through the paper in detail, I'll give you a brief summary and happy to take any questions. The Climate Action Joint Committee was established, you may recall, early last year. Membership includes the 5 councils, so that includes Regional Council, who chair the group, and mana whenua members from the post-treaty settlement governance entities, Ngāti Kahungunu Tai Whenua, and board representatives from Regional Council's Māori Committee. And a technical advisory group, or a TAG, consisting of staff, representatives, services, the committee. So the committee's focus is on promoting action to mitigate climate change and to adapt to a changing climate. At their last meeting, they endorsed a work program going forward for the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. The committee gave direction that one of the key projects for the next year is a regional climate change risk assessment, which I've discussed in more detail in the paper. Basically, this assessment involves collating all of the data and information held by councils and other entities such as Lifeline Utilities, so the likes of Unison and Chorus, with the aim of identifying the full range of climate risks across the region and the impact of those on our communities. So the purpose of this is to really be feeding that information into planning for the future. Workshops were held earlier this month and involved interested parties. I understand there was about 45 or so people who attended in total, including mana whenua representatives and representatives from each of the Māori partnership teams. So an update on the risk assessment mahi will be presented at the meeting of the committee, which is actually next Monday, so anyone's welcome to attend that. It's at Regional Council Chambers. And a final report of the risk assessment will be presented at their meeting in March next year. Work will continue from there in terms of engaging with the community to get input into kind of after the first phase, which is very much focused on the data. So I'll pass over to Connie now to talk about the coastal hazard strategy, and we're happy to take questions at the end. Thank you. Kia ora.
Well, kia ora, I'm Connie Mills. I've been looking after the Napier portion of the coastal hazard strategy. So it's been going on about 10 years. I've only really joined it this year, so I'll provide you an update to the best of my knowledge as well. I'm happy to take questions throughout too. 2014, it was established a joint committee that was Hawke's Bay Regional Council, Hastings and Napier, and then it was supported by a technical advisory group, supported by each respective council. It's really at a point now that it's sitting best placed to be implemented by the Hawke's Bay Regional Council. The Joint Committee resolved in August this year that they're happy with where the strategy landed, and it's now recommended up to Regional Council, and it's going through investigation on how it's to be implemented. So we're still awaiting that piece of information. Napier City Council's involvement, even depending on how Hawke's Bay Regional Council proceed with it, Napier City Council will remain on the tag as well, whether it's in technical advisory or in terms of an advisory capacity, to make sure that it does go forward and still meets the need of our Napier communities. In terms of the implementation for the Ahuriri area, the way that the strategy looked, it was northern and southern cells, and then each of those cells were split up into sub-portions. So we had Whirinaki, Bayview, West Shore, Ahuriri and Pandora. And it took an approach of short, medium and long-term interventions. And so it's not necessary that the short will be within 20 years. It's kind of, well, what does the state of the environment look like? Though we say 0 to 20 years, it might be brought in at the 8-year phase or it might be brought in the 18-year phase. It depends on the data that comes back to us. Honestly, in the scheme of things, in terms of looking at the implementations along that full coastline, NAPA doesn't have too many immediate implementations. The implementations are going to come in the more medium to long term. So in the meantime, there's re-nourishment along West Shore. We're still doing that. And then we'll move into more controlled structures in that 20 to 30 year phase. And that's more groins being placed in the environment to limit erosion occurring. So all of these were developed. So all the implementation was developed in collaboration with community. It had a lot of people involved, a lot of academic, a lot of engineering, a lot of community involvement. And then it went through this matrix and we sped out where council could implement the controls, but then that we had support of community of doing so. So that's our general update. We'll bring back to you when we know next steps from Regional Council as well. Kia ora.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Connie. I'll open up for any questions from committee members. Two very significant pieces of work.
Just
Hi,
through the
Evan.
chair, I know that a lot of these areas probably won't concern the Hastings Napier City Council, but or the central wall, but just on the outskirts, I don't know if it will, pertaining to rates, how would that affect the rates, our rate payers that live along the coast?
So that is a process that the Hawke's Bay Regional Council will be working through now that they're going to be taking the lead in terms of the next steps. They will go out for consultation when they have a proposal on hand around those rates and how much is deemed to be of private benefit compared to public benefit. As Connie said, as we learn more about the timelines and the process that the Regional Council will be rolling out, we'll bring that information back to the committee.
Cool, thank you.
Kia ora. It's a difficult one, that's for sure, yeah.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. There's a couple of things I want to touch on today. And the first one is about succession. Because it's been going since 2014, did you say?
That's correct, yeah.
Is there a succession plan?
In terms of officers' succession plan?
Yeah. Because, they're not all going to be on here forever. So is there a succession plan for this particular strategy?
Look, that's a really good question. I don't know. Can I come back to you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any further questions?
I forgot it, sorry.
Russell?
Yeah, hi. Sorry. Just on the question of succession planning, I think, I'd like to help answer that. We do have a number of staff attending these groups from both the planning and infrastructure, and we do look at having those portfolios written into some of their job descriptions. So that we try so that when we do have people moving on, it's not, that connection's not lost in terms of their roles and responsibilities.
I've just remembered my second question. Will there be a review done on the strategy?
I know that there is. Can't remember the specific date. It's something that, as information progresses, that will be considered to make sure the strategy is still fit for purpose. Nowhere around the country has done a combined strategy like this, and so the Hawke's Bay one is quite leading. Absolutely be a review like every other strategy.
Maybe I ask Russell. Russell, how long before you do a review
Of the
strategy?
strategy.
Yeah.
We have a review, I just can't remember the time frame on it.
Yeah, sorry. What was the first part of the question? Sorry. I was having technical difficulties with my microphone, sorry.
I'm just asking about whether a review is to be done or is being done or it's coming, and how often do you do a review on the strategy, on this particular strategy?
Typically, we look at the strategies as part of our long-term plan process, which is every 3 years, or if there's a significant change to some of the activities. So, we're looking at, with regional councils taking over of this, that we review that to make sure we've got Napier's interest into the regional strategy.
So I'm clear, sorry. I called it a strategy, but it's not. It's a coastal hazards committee. So is this committee reviewed?
In terms of their membership on the committee,
Yeah.
like all committees,
Yeah.
there would be a review on it for sure.
Okay. How often is that done?
I can assist here. So this committee now will be solely Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and typically committee membership is reviewed each 3 years through the election cycle. Napier City Council will still be involved, however, in an advisory capacity as well, so we will still be able to have input and ensure that our best interests are being taken into consideration as well.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
Thank you, Russell.
Okay. If there's no further questions, we have the recommendation, which is to note the update of the work of the Climate Action Joint Committee and note the update on the work of the Coastal Hazards Strategy. If I could have a mover and a seconder for those, please. Thank you, Evelyn. And a seconder. Thank you, Cheyenne. Do either of you like to speak to that?
No, it's been received.
Any other speakers? Okay, so I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have an update on the sites of significance to Māori variation to the proposed Napier District Plan. And I see we had Fleur down to speak to this. Is she online or?
I will speak to that.
Is that Paulina?
Yes. Can you see me and hear me?
We can hear you, Paulina. Thank you.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou. So, the purpose of this report is to update you on a variation to the proposed district plan. This is in relation to significant sites of significance to Māori. So, local authorities, so Napier City Council under the Resource Management Act Section 6 has to identify these sites and protect them for the future. We have been working together with our Mana Whenua partners on this variation since 2019. And we currently do protect sites of significance to Māori in the operative plan, our current district plan. However, we acknowledge that this needed to be reviewed and assessed again, and as well as the extent and the location of these sites, as well as the way that we manage this site and engage with Mana Whenua to develop that management framework. So the reason why this is a variation is because when the cyclone hit, we couldn't really work with the Mana Whenua. The priorities for Mana Whenua were they had other priorities, and therefore we had to put a stop into this work and we couldn't progress it any further. But really good news, there has been a steering group formed with Mana Whenua partner and council officers, and we have engaged Tipene Cottrell to do an assessment of the Napier sites and review a previous report that was done by Pat Parcel. And he has actually amended the extent of those sites and review all the locations. So we are ready actually to present this to Mana Whenua, all Mana Whenua tomorrow. And there's a workshop to be held tomorrow where we're going to be discussing all these sites in more detail. The idea of the variation is to release it early next year. So we're thinking about February next year, with the view of having a full district plan ready by the end of this next year. So we're really aiming for this variation to catch up with the rest of the district plan review, which is happening now, and therefore we have a final district plan at the end of next year. So it is really important that we identify these sites and map them in our district plan, because that's the main mechanism on which we can protect them. So we can manage the rules and activities that happen in these areas, and therefore we can protect this site for the future. So that's why it's really important piece of work for us. So there is a tight time frame for all the work that we're doing, and a key piece in this in development of variation is to engage with the landowners that have this site within the property boundaries. So that hasn't happened, unfortunately, but we are planning to do that at the end of this year or early next year, with a view that they would be participants as well of the development of a proposed variation for sites of significance to Māori. So that in a nutshell is the plan for this variation, and I know that is of interest to you, so I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much for that, Paulina. Just a question from me. You mentioned that there's a workshop tomorrow to go through the sites that have been identified at this stage. Who's actually been invited to participate in that workshop?
So all the mana whenua partners, so there's Tai Whenua, Mana Ahuriri, MTT and Ngāti Parau, plus our officers, obviously.
Thank you. And then just a further question, with regards to that engagement that's going to be undertaken with affected landowners, are you intending to do that in partnership with mana whenua?
We would like to, but
yeah.
Yes, that would be the ideal. However, we're going to be guided by mana whenua whether they want to be working with the landowners together with us on that matter. We suggest that is appropriate, because they hold the knowledge and the value of the significance of these sites, and usually landowners would be interested in knowing a little bit more about that. So they don't have to do it, but we are hoping that they would work together with officers to do that. But it would depend on them, really.
Thank you very much. Open for other questions? Yep.
Madam Chair. Kia ora, Paulina. I remember in 2021 when we started this project, and we actually had a online online hui with some of the landowners when we first started. There weren't that many at that time, but however, the people that we did, the landowners that we did, was actually quite a good meeting.
Yes.
So it's nice that you're carrying on that same thing, so e mihi ana. I do have a question. If I can take you all to 3.4, the significance and engagement. And I'm not a wordsmithy, however, there's some wording in there that I would like to really have a look at. And the wording goes like this: engagement with landowners has not yet been finalised, as the approach is dependent on mana whenua appetite. So I'm not really liking that word in there, appetite. So can you explain why that word is in there, please, Paulina?
Oh, absolutely. No, I am happy to do any amendment if necessary. It's related to whether mana whenua would like to be involved in engaging with the landowners or not. Because sometimes engagement with landowners, especially if you're talking about affecting their property rights in a way, because the district plan will restrict some activities in the land that has a site of significance. For example, there could be activities like subdivision or the location of a house that can be restricted because this land contains a site of significance. Sometimes those engagement can be a little bit contentious And that's the reason why we put there, because Mana Whenua might not want to be faced with angry landowners that are opposed to having constraints in the land. And that is a discussion that we're having to see whether they would like to work together with landowners, or they prefer to officers to have that front face.
Thank you, Paulina, but I
Happy
can
about
think of
changing the
other words.
appetite.
I could possibly think of other words that should go in there, but I would like that to be taken out and just left as whenua, mana whenua to be involved with this.
To be involved, yes.
And take out the word.
I mean, if that is what they want, we definitely would like to. It's just whether they wanted to be in the front face with the landowners or not. That's why it was I see your point, so happy to remove that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we can articulate that
thank you.
in a different way.
Yes.
Any further questions? So we have a recommendation to note the update provided on sites of significance to Māori variation for the proposed Napier District Plan, of which we're very much looking forward to having mana whenua involvement when we do move forward into the next stages. And could I ask for a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Whaia Bev. Thank you, Whaia Maureen. Would anyone like to speak further to?
Yes, I would like to speak to it.
Absolutely.
The sites of significance is a real taonga for us as mana whenua. We don't have much of it left through the governments over the years and through the acts that have come through. So what we do have left and what we're trying to achieve to ensure that we have a good relationship with the landowners is a milestone, is an absolute milestone, because we only want to have a good relations with the landowners and to be able to manaaki and nurture the site through them by giving them good information, educating them, like you've been doing, Paulina, like the team have been doing. So, ngā mihi, tēnā.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Whaia Maureen.
Maybe a change of word could be like inclination rather than appetite. But just about the sites of significance, there's still many more sites yet to be confirmed. So, yeah.
I think it will be an ongoing process as we continue to, identify and go through that process
Absolutely.
of confirming and adding them formally as a site of significance. Yeah. Excellent. If there's no further speakers, I will put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And we have Paulina continuing with us on our next agenda item, the District Plan Submission Summary.
Yes. Do you have the presentation there? Is the presentation on your screen? I'm not sure whether it has been uploaded.
Or is it in the papers?
It's in the papers.
It's in our papers.
It should be on the
Paulina.
papers.
Yeah.
Sure. So this presentation is to give you an update on the submissions to the proposed district plan. We're going to cover today a little bit about the process that we've gone through in this review. I will give you some facts and figures, and I will talk a little bit about the variations, the hearing process, and the next steps into the district plan review. So the the proposed district plan was notified in September 2023, and we have gone through receiving submissions, summarizing those submissions, receiving further submissions from the community and stakeholders, releasing this information, and now officers are preparing what we call the hearing reports that is they're going to be presented at the hearings of the proposed district plan, which are already started happening. They started in November this year, and they would run until July next year. We have appointed, last time I came to this committee, the Ngā Mānukanuka, we discussed about the composition of the panel, and I can confirm to you that Rauru Kirikiri has been appointed as the Māori commissioner to hear certain topics on the proposed district plan. There's 5 panel members, and with 2 councillors, 2 independent commissioners, and the Māori commissioner, and these panel members alternate for different topics and hear some of the topics of the district plan. So just to give you some facts and figures, this is on my slide number 5. We have received 288 submissions to the PDP, which raised nearly 5,000 points. And we receive another 2,500 further submission points. The further submissions usually either support or oppose an original submission. They cannot introduce any new request at that stage. We received also some late submissions, which all have been accepted by the panel, the hearing panel for the proposed district plan. Your slide number 6, I talk about some of the submitters. This is just a representation of the organization and stakeholders that have been involved and provided feedback on the proposed district plan. So just to know, the district plan affects everyone in the community, directly or indirectly. It's a very strategic document which sets up what you can do or not do on your land, and also dictates where's the growth gonna go for a rezoning land for a residential development or commercial or industrial. So it's a very important document for the city. So as you can see, we have the port, the airport, the energy companies, Waka Kotahi, the transport agency, the forest and birds, so conservation entities, Heritage New Zealand, Mana Whenua, Mana Huriri, and MTT Tai Whenua has been involved as well, the Ministry of Education, etc. So we have had a really good breadth of government agency, as well as the mums and dads in the community who have been involved in the submission process. So some of the main issues raised in the district plan, there's a whole range of issues, obviously, that people submitted about, but I would like to summarize some of the most contentious ones. So the first one is about fence heights. We got a lot of submission about the fence heights, and the community is really particular. They have really strong views about what they can and cannot do in the property, and how they can be safe inside and maintain their privacy. So fences was a big issue for the community. There's also a whole lot of submissions that relate to intensification areas. So this is the areas that we want to allow people to build high 3 stories plus buildings. So we have introduced in the district plan a medium density and high density zone. And there was a lot of submissions about people usually being concerned that by going up, there would be a whole lot of adverse effects that they would experience in relation to traffic, to noise, to lack of sunlight, etc. So there were a lot of submissions about that. There were a whole lot of submissions in relation to heritage issues. So people are very passionate about the heritage items or heritage character areas within Napier. So there were a lot of submissions about that. we got a whole lot of submissions about noise and the noise levels that we allowed in different zones. So the residential areas have a threshold which is different to industrial areas, obviously, and all of these noise provisions applied to the zones across Napier, and they were obviously, because we have a port and an airport, there's also a lot of residents that are concerned about increasing noise level for port or airport operations. There were some submissions about subdivision and how Napier should allow, what is the minimum lot size that we should have in Napier and allow for, so that it's in the rural as well as in the residential area. And there were a lot of submissions about rezoning land. So this would be specific landowners that would like their property to be zoned different or an area to be zoned differently as well. So at the moment, we are considering all of these submissions and preparing the officer's recommendation for the hearing panel, which will later make a recommended decision to the council on these topics. Are there any questions about that?
As you can tell, the district plan covers a very wide range of...
Absolutely. Good. I'm glad that the commission is in place now.
Yeah, it's a significant piece of work which takes many, many years from the start through to the finalisation. So we appreciate all the hours and effort of council officers and also the councillors who are now sitting on the hearings panel to hear the submitters as well, which is Deputy Mayor Brosnan, Councillor Brown and Councillor Taylor, alongside our 3 independent commissioners. So very big piece of work.
Absolutely.
Okay. If there's no questions or any general discussion, I'll ask for...
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, no. The recommendation is to note the update provided, receive the presentation on the summary of the submissions for the proposed district plan. Our mover and seconder, please. Thank you, Cheyenne, and thank you, Bev. Any further comments? No, so we'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against and carried. Thank you, Paulina. I think she's frozen on us. She has.
Yeah. Lips don't move.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, next up we have the 2025 local government election update with Anna, Edie and Jane McLaughlin. And Jane looks like she's been injuring herself again. What have you done? Ouch. Welcome, ladies. We're all so looking forward to the elections next year. Can't wait. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. We're bringing this paper to you today. I guess it's to enable a discussion with the appointed members of this committee in particular, to seek some advice as to how we can maximise participation in next year's local elections, and also encouraging people who are interested to stand for council, be it in the new Māori ward or in one of the general wards, or even to run for mayor. You'll see in the paper that we've noted particularly that
young people are quite hard to get enrolled on the electoral roll, and are really keen to understand if there's ways that we can focus on this group and encourage enrolment by them. So we're in our planning phase at the moment for this project. There's quite a lot involved in planning for the elections, but we've already started working with our regional partners, Hawke's Bay Regional Council, with Hastings District Council, and Central Hawke's Bay and Wairoa, and also Elections New Zealand, to start looking at ways that we can get people interested in the election and get them enrolled and ready to vote before the election in October next year. We'd like to focus on facilitating enrolment on the general or Māori electoral roll, facilitating enrolled residents to update their details with the Electoral Commission so they receive their voting papers, encourage candidates to stand for election, and encourage voter participation in the election and on the binding poll that will be held at the next election on whether to retain the Māori wards beyond 2028. It's worth noting Napier City Council cannot influence how the residents vote in the election or on the poll, but we can certainly encourage participation. Some of the steps we've looked at currently for enrolment is to be present at community events. So we have a whānau fest on the 30th of November at Anderson Park. Myself and Michelle Jaggard of Elections New Zealand will be there with a booth to encourage enrolment at that point in time, and we'd love to utilise other events like that where the community are out and present, and we can sort of grab them as they walk past. You may have also seen in the last election we had orange voting wheelie bins in a few locations around the city, and we plan to have more of those around the city this time because in the recent Tauranga local elections, they had, I think it was 87% of their votes came through those orange bins. So I suppose people that with the post boxes for New Zealand Post declining, this is a good option for people to, when they're out and about at the supermarkets or wherever, to pop their votes in those bins. So we'll have those out and ready to go. Questions. We've got some questions in the paper for you, committee members, to consider today. What's the best way to encourage rangatahi to enrol? What's the best way to get communication out to Māori on the option of general, whether they enrol on the general roll or the Māori roll, and what that means? The Elections New Zealand will run a enrolment campaign through their media and on TV. What's the best way to engage and encourage prospective candidates for the Māori ward, general wards or the mayoralty? We're proposing holding an interested candidate information session early next year, so we'd love to get people that are thinking about it to come along and learn what being an elected member is all about. And there will also be one in July next year, which is the period when the nominations are open for candidates. Just wondering what sort of strategies officers could use for encouraging prospective candidates for the Māori ward, and what type of engagement will work best for those people, whether it's online meetings, meeting in person. We're very flexible and happy to work with what the best approach is. I'll open to the committee for questions and for your feedback on those matters.
Thank you, Anna. We would, yeah, as Anna said, we're really keen to have you working alongside us to encourage people to vote, both in the elections themselves and then, of course, we have the Māori Awards poll running alongside that. And then also really, really keen to work with you to identify potential candidates to actually stand in the election. So any ideas, thoughts, feedback, we'll welcome.
Kia ora, Anne. Just for like what you were just saying, then just an idea that I've come up with, maybe I could just put it on our page, and that's just the start. I suppose it's also just to let the youth know that they are important, and they will be probably leading in the future. So yeah, we could just put it on our page, we can get together, have a talk, and then maybe just, yeah, just that's just the start anyway. Maybe in the past they just haven't felt like they've been, included, I suppose. So their voice doesn't really matter, but it really does matter,
Yep.
I feel. And yeah, that's just the start, I suppose. It's just a whakaaro of mine. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So is that, when you say on your page, that would be for your marae?
No, just for the marae of Timikara. I can't speak for any other marae.
Oh, yeah.
Say through the chair. Okay, also our comms through our radio kahungunu, because they got a longer reach, 4 hours. I know that getting our youth and getting our people to vote is an ongoing thing, and it's hard to get them to rally out to vote. But the other suggestion is we take it to our kura kaupapa, that all of our marae are here, so we know who our champions are. So I think the comms have already started to go out, and I think our people are gathering, and they are on the search for specific people to stand. So everybody's out on the hunt for that. But there's also the promotional things that we're going through. As encouragement, so if we can have an education program through the schools, start now, even though we've got elections coming up next year, but start now for future elections to get them to understand how important their vote is. Because many of us, my generation they just can't be bothered going out there if they can't get their own wairamona in their homes, but they don't know what their worth is. And I think that's the value of having a vote. That's the value of who we are, maybe putting a promotional thing about that. And your voice counts, you count, something like that, to get out there to our voters, especially the younger ones who aren't 18 yet, between 14 and end of school, to start educating them so it becomes the norm. So that's just to make it something that's expected of them when they turn 18. They're allowed to get a vehicle, they're allowed to go to the pub, and they're allowed to vote.
Yeah.
Just say that they are allowed to vote. It is a privilege to vote. you put out those kind of comms, and maybe get some mentors in to speak with them.
Yep.
Like our mayor.
Yeah. Through the mayor, one of the things we did consider was putting notices in the school newsletters to just say elections are coming up. This is how, encourage your parents to vote maybe, or something like that. But the notices, obviously newsletters go out to the parents. Yeah, so I wondered about that kind of avenue as to get things started.
Yeah. And we have got champions in the schools.
Sally.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering, have our team looked at what other rohe around the country do? So I know, for example, in the Waikato there's Taurikura. They're a social enterprise that do some incredible work with encouraging mostly rangatahi to engage and to vote. And I'm all for us asking our Ngā Mānukanuka members to feedback, but what do we have in place for them to be able, is it an email through to you guys? How do you want them to gather their thoughts and their feedback and feed it through to you? And do we have a series of workshops in so what's happening?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Currently, we're just at the initial phases, but we are going to hold a huia iwi in December with our iwi partners to have a sort of a brainstorm about good ways to reach people. One thing that we had a call with Tauranga about what they did in their recent elections and what they found worked well and what didn't. And one of the things that they suggested, which we hadn't thought of before, was to put together sort of information packs that we can give to organisations. They did it for local businesses, but we could do it for any organisation that has all the how-tos and this is what's on offer in terms of the different parts that people can get involved in and how to actually, you know, if you want to be a candidate, what does that mean? How do you actually get enrolled? And obviously with our contact details so they can contact us for further information or to come and have a face-to-face meeting. In terms of this committee feedback, we'd love to hear your initial thoughts today and to build those into the officer's recommendation, but always happy to receive any emails, suggestions from you if something comes up, or if you would like us to come and meet with your organisations or your whānau and just chat through whichever element they would like to know more about, we're happy to do that as well. But yeah, this is our first step to get initial ideas. From here we'll go to the huia iwi in December and take it forward from there, but keen to engage all the way through.
So Anna, have the committee members been invited to the December? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cheyenne.
Through the chair. Just a suggestion, so going back to facilitating enrolment for young people, just a whakaaro just around young people will tell you how they like to receive information, so I think there's a good point to start. We had the Napier Youth Strategy Hui the other week, and even if facilitating something similar to that, and inviting the youth providers locally to come on board and support the drive, and then also bringing through obviously the young people. Social media is an awesome free way, and our kids love it, of strong campaign, and I'm thinking of people they know, they trust, who look like them, sound like them, and kōrero coming from them, and it's the why. Young people got to have a why should they vote, and they've got to understand how voting affects their everyday life, and it's having a strong hold on them, so then that turns into action to them actually enrolling and wanting to make a decision.
Cool.
But yeah, it needs to be impactful. Young people are so driven by why. Yeah, but open to having other kōrero like outside this forum to catch up. And on Māori candidates, I think just from my view of working with our marae at that level and having some really good context on the whole package of what it entails, because our whānau trust us, but we want to also give really good information to them to consider them taking up that mantle, because at the end of the day we have to look after them as well. So I think that will be really helpful.
Okay.
Just to, for you, Madam Chair, just to support Shai, you know what's been going on in the political world around the tiriti and everything Māori that's being posed. That's a driver. That's an absolute driver for our people at this moment in time. Whether it's driving them to go to the polls and vote, maybe at a national level, yes, it'll drive them. But at a local level, I'm not too sure. However, that is a driver. That's been a driver for our people since this coalition government has come into effect. But yes, Shai is absolutely correct in a lot of those things that she's just talked about, and how we actually get them to come. And it's about the information, the education sharing, They want to see like people in front of them. And I just want to put a thing out here because, you know, I've watched some videos that Te Waka Rangapu have put out, and I'm sure Te Waka Rangapu can do some really short videos.
Yeah. Yeah, we're, through the Mayor, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, as part of our regional get-togethers on this, that was one of the things that they identified. So last time we ran a regional campaign and used local faces and places, people that would be recognised, and so that is all going to be updated with who's you know, on the scene at the moment for that will appeal to different sets of voters. So we'll definitely be rolling that out through social media channels, print, have things on buses and bus shelters and stuff like that. Yeah.
Is the council on TikTok?
I don't think
TikTok. We're on
so.
Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And our youth council's on TikTok.
Yes. Yeah, so we can do perhaps something through the Youth Council, although a lot of them are not of voting age, but I'm sure they'd be very keen to support this, and they recognise how important local government is for our daily lives. So, yeah.
Sally.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. For the Huia iwi, what are you intending to present there? So what I'm thinking, it's much, rather than a blank page, it's much easier to see what you have planned and then have people plug into it. So,
Yes.
you know, where will their feedback feature in the campaign? What are the parameters of the campaign so far? What do you have in place? You know, what does the outline sort of look like? And yeah, so is that something that you're intending on being able to present at that stage? Or?
We hadn't sort of pulled that together yet, but yes, that's our planning, through our planning process, we're coming up with all these ideas and brainstorming with people like Tiffany from Community Strategies, who runs the youth, facilitates the Youth Council, things like that. So yes, that's a very good idea to we'll outline what we're intending to do, the bare bones, so that we can get some detail plugged in there. Yep. That's great, thank you.
Evelyn, through the chair, I just had another brainstorm. Yes, I'm looking at our youth over there in the TikTok. Maybe they could put something together. Maybe we could get somebody in like Pereri who can do rap, or somebody like Mahina on the other field who's they've got two different personalities who can also bring something together too for the youth. They very much. You know, for the youth, and they've already got a big gathering.
Okay.
And they got, you know, they bring in the numbers.
Yes.
So I think if you could get a couple of promotional people like them to come and do that for the young ones, who knows that Maureen might want to get on the other side and do a TikTok with them, say, do you want to be like us and don't vote? Or do you want to be like them who votes? Or something, you know, something like that that's really catchy. I think that might help.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. And obviously there'll be other opportunities to provide some input into this. We're really, really keen to just try and get our whole community involved in the elections next year. Local government voter turnout has been appallingly low in recent years. The Tauranga by-election, I think, was in the low 30%, wasn't it, from memory? So, yeah, we need to start doing things differently because what we're doing at the moment isn't working and not getting the outcomes that we want. So, there's no further questions or discussion. The recommendation is quite a long-winded one, but essentially it is just to note the election planning that's underway and note our desire to have you involved with us in how we engage with our community on both the elections and on finding some really amazing candidates. So if I could have a mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, by Evelyn, and thank you, Kurt. Would you like to say anything further, Evelyn?
Yeah, I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into this document. I really do, and I know the difficulties that it is to get our people out there to vote. I also know that it's an expensive exercise and it's hard work. So happy to move that. Thank you.
I think in terms of, I hear the call from the council for Māori to be part of the council. I believe that a new generation is coming up where they're totally bilingual in terms they've been brought up in kura kaupapa, but they're very bilingual. That's the answer. I think we just need to bear with what we've got and start working with our youth and the younger ones. There are some, the classic really is Chad and Hene. They came out of kura kaupapa. If you want to do something from the council, then you need to support the kura kaupapa in terms of working with them, and then you'll get a better response from Māori. Because it's not a short-term thing, this is a long-term. I remember Hiha going as a councillor and he didn't make it. And he was our kaumātua. Yeah. So when I look at the thing and that, and we're talking about future-proofing, the average age in Marae Nui is 26 years. Our kids are moving away from mainstream and going into kura kaupapa. It's not because we don't like mainstream, they want to know who they are. And then how they can support this country to move forward. And once they know who they are, then you'll get a better outcome. That's the solution that I think we're presenting today. All right?
Ngā mihi.
Any further speakers? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Ina. I hope you're off crutches soon. So this brings us to our final agenda item, Marae Nui to Te Awa Stormwater Project, and I'd invite Andrew up to present the report, please. Welcome, Andrew.
Kia ora. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just an informative paper for the committee on one of our more significant stormwater projects. This links Marae Nui to the Te Awa Pond and discharges onto the marine foreshore. It's being co-funded by Kāinga Ora under the Infrastructure Acceleration Fund program. We entered into that agreement with Kāinga Ora in 2022 and have progressing the project since then. Bit of a background summary, giving a bit of an overview of the flooding that occurred in 2020 and some of the significant infrastructure challenges in place within Marae Nui, and the solutions that we auctioneered through this project. Through the auctioneering stage, it was discovered that the initial outset when we agreed to the funding with Kāinga Ora had to be shifted. We first looked at this and it was decided we will upgrade the pipe network infrastructure and then we'll drain it through Plantation Watercourse into Te Awa Pond. It was quickly discovered that unless we'd made significant upgrades to the Te Awa Pond and the pump station and then work backwards through the watercourse and finally into the network, none of it would work. So we presented to council, I believe, in May of this year to get approval of the recommended option, which was granted for us to move forward. And now we're just at the stage of going through concept design. We're onboarding the last technical requirements needed for resource consent lodgement to then progress through into detailed design and actual implementation. Our current program has us starting physical works ideally next construction season, so that would be October of 2025, with practical completion slated for July of 2027. It's been quite a challenging project. Along the way, other issues have come to light. When we were doing some ground investigations along the Marine Parade foreshore, it was discovered that we were in very close proximity to the spotted skink habitat. We are now working very closely with Department of Conservation, the National Aquarium, and their partners on mitigation strategies to prevent any further harm to that species. And we're currently investigating if we could co-fund a specific habitat and enclosure to provide sanctuary for those species to allow them to proliferate. As well, further modeling has shown that there's constrictions along the Heta KK walkway where this plantation watercourse exists. We are looking at targeted thinning through the Heta KK walkway, but as a part of that, we'll be offsetting thinning by looking to plant further along the scheme to enhance amenity and increase biodiversity. To date, we've had some engagement with certain Mana whenua. We've met with Mana Ahuriri and Ngāti Paro Hapu Trust, who have shown an interest in engaging with us, especially at this kind of critical point, I think, where we're going through concept design, detailed design, getting meaningful input into storytelling that can be done, looking at, an iwi oversight during physical works, and again, linking in with Department of Conservation, National Aquarium, and the skink population, seeing if there's a narrative that can be woven into this as well. Trying to think if there's anything else to cover, but maybe I'll be happy to take questions at this point on the project in any ways forward. So.
Thank you, Andrew. Obviously, this is quite a significant project which will enable the development of over 400 houses within the Maraenui and Te Awa areas. So it's exciting to see it progressing. Open up for any questions.
Thank you, Andrew, through you, Madam Chair. Just want to mihi to you because on the update, and that you've looking at the species, the skink species, to remove them from the area or redevelop that area, I suppose. But yeah, thank you. I'm going to just ask the question: are they native?
That is a great question. Through you, Madam Mayor. I believe they are. I believe they were prolific along the entire East Coast, and their habitat is slowly shrunken, and numbers within the marine foreshore area are between 10 and 100 only. But I understood that they are
probably all
native
those whalers
species.
that come from the coast that brought them over from overseas. That's just...
Yeah, potentially. We are in the process of onboarding a full ecological expert as well to provide full ecology assessment of the waterways and Te Awa Pond as well, to ensure that we're doing what we can to enhance biodiversity, incorporating fish exclusion into the pump station as well. So yeah, doing quite a bit of mahi in the ecological space of the project as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew.
Any further questions? No?
So you're involved with stormwaters?
Yes, well, I still kind of am, but I'm also involved in the local water done well response, which we have a workshop on this afternoon.
I think you're the wrong person that I have a complaint with, however. We used to have beautiful drinking water. We don't have it now. I don't think you're the person that I should be growling. Okay. Kirsten?
It's not me either, Tiwana. It's central government. Thank you.
It sucks.
You've got no
I have to
arguments
go to
from us.
Taranao to get my water. Good morning.
You can come to Whakatū.
Yes.
Marine
I go to
Parade would
my
be
daughters.
closer.
Yeah, Marine Parade.
By the aquarium.
I go to my daughters down King Street to get my water.
Oh.
This is the only time I'm in Taranao.
What an excuse.
No, thank you. I see you're doing a lot of work there. Anything to improve structure within Maraenui is positive. Yeah. Even the rebuilding of homes and allowing a better home for our people. Those ones that were there prior, you could not insulate anyhow. So they needed to be bulldozed out. It was a real challenge to the council to get rid of those houses, and everyone didn't want it. I was a catalyst for change. When they asked me, I said bulldoze them. Why? Because our young mums couldn't keep their kids warm in those houses. And I don't know, the younger generation don't like mowing lawns, so what's the use of a lawn now? So I suppose it's just a new generation, and they're not needing to do that sort of stuff. So within your infrastructure and that, if it improves the quality of life, then we should support it. But if you make a mistake, look out, I'm going to come and see you. All right?
Appreciate that, thank you. But it is mindful that when we discuss this project, we've got lots of engineers and technical people involved, and you can get lost into that realm, but the key driver of this whole project is unlocking that housing development in Maraenui and ensuring that there's more houses available for our community. So I thank you for being mindful of that.
So you're saying there was a lot of houses that were flooded in Maraenui? This is what this report is talking about. Is that
No,
what
this
it's
is
talking about?
acknowledging that there was significant flooding. And to allow for future development, we need to mitigate that flooding risk through this project to allow for not only the existing houses to stay dry, but for allow future development to occur within Maraenui.
No, thank you for that correction.
Sally.
Thank you through Chair. Andrew, can you tell us how or what gateways mana whenua, tangata whenua contributions will be made to the ongoing design of the project?
Yep, so I think through the chair, the key aspects will be the review of the concept design. So concept design is very high level of the alignment, looking at the required structure, especially the pump station, the pumps required, reviewing that alongside building architect, landscape architect, and our design engineers to influence probably that detail design, and detail design is what is going to become the physical build to influence what there could be for cultural narrative, for informing plantings along the watercourse within Tiawa Pond, storytelling, wayfinding, essentially seeing what they would like to have their input into. And we've just started those conversations with our Mauna Whenua partners.
So subsequent question, so you've identified Ngāti Paro, mana ahuriri, and so what you're talking about is quite, I would term it operational in the design aspect. And where is the space? How do our whānau here around the table contribute ongoing to this project?
That's a good question. I'm happy to explore that with our comms team, with the committee here, if there's perhaps a website or something that we could direct people to, community to, especially something of this significance that they could have that input into. But yeah, I'll give that consideration with our team and come back to you.
I was wondering from a governance perspective whether those final designs, full design, detailed design, comes back to this table as one of the gateways.
Gateways? Yep.
If that could
Yep,
be
I can note that.
appropriate.
Absolutely.
Sorry, just to add to that comment, yeah, I think there's other projects that the water team are working on that the governance team could help assist with in terms of our stormwater master plan. So we're looking at developing the next stage of the master plan, and part of that will be is looking at the citywide solution for stormwater and what we need to include and be very aware of when we're looking at these types of projects coming through in the future. So that's another aspect that we'd really like input into.
So you'll be bringing some papers through to this committee with regards to that stormwater master planning?
Correct, yeah.
Excellent.
When we'll see the draft, I'm just not sure of the timing of that at the moment, but when we do receive that draft, we'd like to bring it to the table, yes.
Great, thank you.
Yes, I'd just like to ask a question to the council and you, Kirsten, as the koromatsua. What did we learn from the last flood in terms of Marae Nui, Marewa and Te Awa and Pirimai?
There were significant learnings.
Hey, can you answer that?
Well, in my summary, because at our last paper we covered what improvements were made and what we're doing for since 2020, I mean, to now. So it was a paper we had at the last meeting.
So we could share that paper with committee members via email, and it outlined a number of the projects that have been undertaken in the last 4 years. And we know from Cyclone Gabrielle that the work that had been done was targeting the right areas and did actually mean that some areas that may have previously flooded didn't during Cyclone Gabrielle, and we have a continuing work program, which is what Russell's referring to in terms of that ongoing planning around stormwater in particular.
Yes, because Dave Piper's one of those fellows at that, what's that place, Sunset?
Yes, Dave.
Yeah. He's smack in the middle of the flood, so we better make sure we look after him.
And our main thing is to manaki. It doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. It's just to be kind and to and welcome them in. And it's just our little place away from everywhere. You know, we originally all come from Paraiti, but we've moved to Timikara. Those that are at Montreal come from Paraiti. Those from Whararangi come from Paraiti. And we're just trying to just keep our identity and like I said, Manaki is everything to us, so it's nice. It's a nice feeling to be kind. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment. Yeah, we're just looking forward to having our wharenui put up next year. So, kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Tiwana, puki muki muki.
Yes, as you realise, it's a very busy marae. And thank you, Jackie, for looking after the council on the marae. It gives us some breathing space and allows me to go back to work at the hospital. Yes, so the future looks good for the marae. It's good to have a council on the marae because I believe that having a council on the marae is a two-way conversation. It's not a one-way conversation where that councillor just brings information back to the council. I want to know what the council are thinking too, so that we can combine that. And one of the projects that we're looking at is to put solar panels on the marae. So we've got a bit of work to find some funding for that. But the idea is there. And our aim is to pursue that because civil defence is about preparing, finding solutions before things happen like that. And the council worked together with the marae in the last flood. So I can't see why that relationship, it's been cemented in terms of where we want to go. Not as so much as a marae and a council, but as a people. So, yeah, the door's always open. And we try and present ourselves as the best as we can. There's always the thing about funding. We know that. Whatever marae it is, we're always trying to look for funding. So in terms of the council, it's really about that support, i.e. DIA, Te Puni Kōkiri, all those organisations. Yeah. I think we're going to hit about 900,000 people this month that have come on the marae. Yeah, so was there a reason to build the marae? Well, you asked the 900,000 people that went on there. And I know that the council has been part of that process. So, nā mihi kia koe te kia tātai nei. I rongo i te kia watau o tātai. Kei toki mahara kia piri. E kore e kone hunehu te pū mahara. Thoughts will never ever dissipate. That's what it means. E kore e kone hunehu te pū mahara. Ia rata I taka I ngata whenua. Those that were before us. And I think if we're going to leave a legacy, this is what we've got to talk about and debate and work together. Nā reira, ai te mihi kia koutou.
Kia ora.
Madam Chair. Since opening in 2022, we knew Whararangi was going to be inundated with a lot of visits from various organisations, schools, and still to this day. And having council come on last week was absolutely awesome to see. You know that you are taking that lead and as a council to come into our marae and actually sit and be a part of the whole workings of our marae and how we do it and how we do our things. So that's what makes us unique in terms of te ao Māori. That's the place we get to be who we are on our marae and on our paipai and welcoming all our guests. We've still got December happening, but we won't be open for visits in December. We've got a very important harakeke group coming in to do our whāriki, and that's going to be involving Hana Wanohu, who's our head weaver. She's just a master in weaving. She was also part of our tukutuku when we did all the inside of Manahau. And so whāriki for us is quite a big taonga, it's a huge taonga and a huge mahi. And so that'll involve a lot of our kahui pakeke, our kuia, to come and put their skills to weaving whāriki. Now, whāriki have their own operations, their own value in terms of not just being weaved, but it's the fine detail. It's the fine detail because it doesn't take just one person. It can never take one person. It takes a whole whānau or a whole team to pull together a whāriki. And so that's the glory of what whāriki is all about. It encompasses the whānau aspect, as a marae does. So we're going to be closed for the whole of December, just doing the whāriki kaupapa. So yeah, kia ora tātou.
Cheyenne,
Pitani's Marae World. So our board has currently been involved in an extensive cultural impact assessment process with regional council. So that's been ongoing since before halfway through this year. So we're nearly at the end of that, and we're hoping to get that all finalised before Christmas, hopefully. So that's taken a big toll on the whānau and on the process itself, I guess. But some positives, our whānau participated in the recent local pāwos, which was hosted by Mōtio, and I wasn't there, but I seen the Silver Ferns attended that, so that looked awesome. So ngā mihi nui to our whānau at Mōtio Marae. What else? We are obviously in our stage 1 of our relocation, so looking for whenua. So if anyone's selling any land, please get in touch. Locally, hopefully still in our takiwā, so that's where we're at the moment. So we can hopefully move to stage 2, which is our rebuild of our whare and our wharekai. So we're still in that phase, very optimistic, very proactive, very energised, and just ready for this next haerenga that our hapu is on. Alongside everyone here. So that's us at Pitani.
Ora. Maureen, Mōtio.
Kia ora. As for our marae, we're nearly there. Since Cyclone Gabriel, we had to renew the sewage system because our tank was filled with silt. We had to replace the water pump. We put in a new water filter system with 2 extra big water tanks. One is for firefighting. It gets very dry out there. We relined the wharenui and the wharekai. We relined the kitchen, and we're just up to replacing the appliances. We managed to save a couple, because the motor was on top of the fridge, so we could save that. But yes, we're nearly there. Also, we've been part of the monitoring system, monitoring the water in the Tūtai Kuri for nitrogen and phosphorus and all these other things. We did a test down at the Redcliffe Bridge. We set a hinaki for eels, and overnight we caught 75 eels, which were released back into the river. Oh, we did eat a couple. We're also involved with the cultural impact assessment right up to the kawikas, and we've been visiting the bridges out at Rissington and Follies and Pātoka and Startmore, just having karakia and keeping track of what the contractors are up to. The Puketapu Mōtio Bridge rebuild is on track, and they had an open day on Saturday, I believe. Whānau went down at 10 o'clock and nobody was there yet, so we had to go to the next kaupapa. We received funding from Gabriel to replace the equipment from the Urupa, and also to replace the kiddies' bus shelter with a see-through bus shelter. It's kind of a health and safety thing because the traffic goes past at 50 miles an hour, and since Cyclone Gabriel, there's been big trucks, silt trucks, logging trucks. Had a couple of near misses, so we're trying to look at
doing something in slowing down the traffic, but I think I'm at the wrong council meeting for that one. Yeah, so we just need road signs like, you know, watch out for children, or maybe a jaraba or two. But yeah, we'll go see the other council. And yeah, Powers was a great success. We had about 10 different games and activities, ranging from babies to kaumātua. We held it at Green Meadows School. We actually had 490 people registered and 45 kaimahi, so that's quite a few people, nice active Māoris. And whoever else came. Timikara was the top marae, and Tāngoia was hosting in 225, so kia ora.
Awesome. Kia ora. Evelyn, manu ahiriri.
Mana ahuriri, wow. Firstly, I guess Mana ahuriri are proud sponsors of Powers.
Yes.
I have to say that. Everybody had hats and things that were sponsored by Mana ahuriri and Kai. And that, but also want to pay tribute to all the marae who made that day what it was fantastic. Absolutely. And look forward to it next year. So Mana ahuriri right behind them, and it's wonderful. What I'm liking about what we're doing at the moment with Mana ahuriri is the relationships we're building, and we are growing. We are growing with our numbers, and we're getting closer to our people. So so we've got our Pakeke celebrations coming up on the 29th of November of this month, to be held out here at in Ahuriri, and then the main part will be held at Wauhiki, to coincide with the opening of their wharenui, which was another something big to celebrate. You know, for Ngāti Pāro, it's awesome. And our marae's coming together and seeing them grow and seeing them coming back together again. You know, we lost, after Gabriel, we lost a lot of marae, but we're slowly coming back, making a comeback. Petane is starting to get momentum, and Tāngoia's still in there. But yeah, and Mōtio, Timikara, these things coming along great. You know, it's really every little bit of thing that is an achievement, and it's great for us to see and be able to support and be a part of that. We've also got our AGM, Mana ahuriri AGM, coming up on the 7th of December. We've also hosted the symposium for iwi chairs, and which entails 80 different iwi that come together to celebrate with us and to come bring all our taki and what the kaupapa is. We went down south to another one for the kaupapa o Kotahitanga, and we joined all our iwis down there, and that was another great occasion. And we're really spreading out and building those connections and bringing them back to here, and growing our relationships. We really appreciate the relationships we have with all our PSGEs in our area, with Napier City Council, Hastings District Council, and the Regional Council. So those are very important to our makeup and to grow, to say that we are here and we've been encouraged to all work together. So those relationships are going to be strong. With our PSG partners, we're going to be quite a force to reckon with. That will include all of Napier as well, ahuriri. So it's amazing just how many PSGs we have just got in this area. So we are going to be quite a strong network that we've got. We've got a great commercial arm, you know, with our planning. You know, they're very switched on. They know their stuff, and they only want the best for ahuriri, which means all our marae are going to receive that. And that's what we're aiming for, is quality above just not taking anything, but we want quality, and that includes quality relationships. And quality. We want to really build up from our rangatahi to our pakeke. Which brings me to another area of our kahui pakeke that we have, that has been bought and built and coming together quite strongly, and it's from all our species networks, from all our marae, without any barriers. And I want to pay tribute to Bev, who's leading that, along with Zane and the other teams that's coming forward. So we've got a very strong kahui pakeke, and so we want to build that, and it's about feeding them, nurturing them, and then building the next generation coming through. And it's about that, because without our kahui pakeke, that our youth would have nothing to aspire to. Because our kahui pakeke, you know, we look at the whang as a jewel of our crown, you know, the crown and jewel and that, but our kahui pakeke are the ones who have lived it, and they hold the knowledge and they hold the key. They've lived through all these hard times, so they've earned where they are, and we need to nurture that and look after them, because they are the inspiration for all of us, and they'll teach us how to look after our youth and our babies that come through. So we really appreciate the works that we've done, and I think it starts with our kahui pakeke. We look after them, the doors will open, the barriers will drop, and we can grow. So we're about growth, and we're about relationship building, and we're about building our teams and our strengths. So, and they become our stakeholders, and we become your stakeholders. So it's about our relationships and growing who we are. And we've got some great things to look forward to. You know, our housing projects are coming along great. Our taiao is flourishing. We've got great teams. We've got great people working in those areas as well. So, and our mātauranga Māori's coming along fine. And we've got a great team that we're working with at the moment. So, nō reira, ko oti taku nau reporta. Nō reira, kia ora koutou.
Tēnā koe.
Kia koe.
Oh, kia ora whaia. Just firstly, I just want to acknowledge, if I may, I'll talk about a key piece of mahi that we're doing under my stream of work, but I just want to actually, I made a list of all the different kaupapa you guys have mentioned that your marae, your whānau are involved in. Here we go. We have the environment taiao, we have climate resilience, we have cultural reclamation, we have building and construction, we have the hono, we have whānau, hapu, iwi connections, we have community building wider, we have recreation, we have physical well-being, we have economic development and commerciality. So when you consider that all those things are all areas that you and your whānau are working in, it's not surprising when sometimes us as one of your stakeholders come to you and say, can you help us with? And you say, actually, we're a little bit spread thin at the moment. So I want to acknowledge the depth of the mahi that you all do, and that your whānau and those that you work with are all contributing to the wider environment that we all enjoy living here in Napier. So kia ora. I'm the chair of Prosperous Napier. We look after the corporate services sort of directorate of council. That's where that mahi comes through and is reported and monitored through. I think the key piece of mahi at the moment that I think would be of interest to you guys is that we've started work on our annual plan for next year. So that looks at the projects, the work that we're going to deliver, that we're going to fund, and that we're going to track and make sure actually gets done, hopefully, for that financial year. As part of our 3-year plan, we gave our council officers some really clear direction around affordability, recognising the financial situation that our community are facing at the moment. So there's lots of work at the moment going on in the background around what that means for our work plans, making sure that we're focusing on the things that really matter around resilience, around our why, making sure that we're enabling development to happen by others, but that we're doing our bit and contributing our part of the jigsaw puzzle to making good things happen that have real impact on the people that live in our city. So yeah, I think for my committee, that's sort of the main focus, I think, that we're working on at the moment. So kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you. Richard.
I get all the exciting stuff as Chair of People and Places, which is Community Services. We have all the good stuff, your Kennedy Parks, Ocean Spas, Pārtūs, eyesights, McLean Park, all the pools, all the good things. We've undertaken some major reviews of all our facilities. It takes time because there's a lot of facilities and it's a big job. So we're looking to see how we can run them a little bit more commercially, some of them. So we're using the ratepayers' money and your money the best way we can. It's not, like I say, it's not a quick process, it's a big process, but it's moving ahead quite well. So yeah, watch this space. So I guess as bits and pieces come out, there'll be a bit more come through at our main council meeting next month that I think the community will appreciate. So yeah, just a lot of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I chair Sustainable Napier, which is basically infrastructure, transport. Probably our big one at the moment is we're doing a lot of work on water, our 3 waters, or water done well, is that the wording of it? And so there's a lot of work going into that, and I guess we've got to work out what our model will be in the long term. Tawana stole my thunder a little bit by asking about what was going on. We can get that sent out, can't we, that item?
We can, actually.
Yeah.
We noted that as an action.
So we asked the question, what have we done since the 220 floods? And we've had a paper presented to us which covers some of the things we've talked about. But it's a good paper to read. If when you've read it, there's any questions, ask the Mayor. No, I'm happy to email me, and if there could be things come out of it, because there's also a capital plan in there, which is what we're working on sort of now and into the future. But there's a lot on, and yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. I just want to, Tawana, I'm the council representative on the Pokimoki Marae, which I enjoy and commend them for their work they do. And I've been well trained by Tawana. And when I can ask a question and when I can't, and get out of that area. But we work together pretty well, I think. Thank you.
Thanks,
Through you, Madam Chair, can I ask a question to the councillor?
Yes.
Can I just ask the 3 of you, how can we help you in your role?
Yeah. I think helping us to understand how best to work with you, how to make it easy to work with you, in fairness. Thank you for asking that, because I think that it's an ongoing challenge. Yeah. But what I understand, like, listen to all the different hats that you guys wear, all the different activities that you're involved in, etc. So, what do you need to know from us in order to be able to make sure that the decisions that we make best reflect the aspirations of your people?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just listening to Richard and the big portfolio that you have, and all the various eyesights and all that that you do have. Is there anything that you need from mana whenua, or are you already getting that?
I guess a lot of the work's done by the officers and their teams, and ensuring that they're looking at that side of things as well.
Are you getting that?
Am I getting that? Probably not so much.
Yeah. Is that a choice?
Probably just hasn't been considered.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're considering it, because I think there is some aspects in there that we could support you on, but we just need to know what that is. Yeah, I mean, in all the portfolio you have, yeah, that's quite a big portfolio you have. So how can we help in terms of mana whenua? And it's not going to make it easy. We'll probably make it more harder for you, but, you know, how can we help?
And I think that's where building these relationships is so important, so that there is that connection and a feeling of, for example, Richard being able to pick up the phone and speak to one of you, you know, if he feels that he would like some advice and some guidance on something that is part of his portfolio. So that's what I would really love to see start happening. Yeah.
As simple as that, Richard.
Yeah. I go back in time and look at how we managed the pool situation. And everyone had involvement, except for Māori. And they jumped in towards the end, and it was interesting the information that was brought to us at the time that hadn't been considered. So how do you get to the front of what's happening rather than towards the end? And some of that is if you're seeing things that are happening and you don't feel you're being involved, it is speak up as well. Come to us and talk, and then perhaps our officers can go back and look at bits and pieces. Morohu, your team obviously plays a role as well. If you know you're sitting through ELT conversations of things coming up to do with our area, you can be thinking, you know, how can I take this back? Are we getting the full involvement? Yeah.
Probably, from my point of view, it's just a good open communication both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd have to say, and Tuan will know, I'm very easy to have a cup of coffee with, especially if you're paying. But I'll buy every second one. But, you know, I think it's important that, you know, I work with the theory, you'll never lie in bed at night wondering what I'm thinking, because I'll say it. And I like the same thing coming back. And Tuana and I got a relationship like that, I guess, that we're pretty, unless it comes to rugby. He gets grumpy.
I think it's called resilience. Not rugby, resilience.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Bev. Really appreciate it. And before I pass to Morihu to give the Pōwhakare update, I did just want to make a little bit of a comment on, I'm not sure if any of you saw the news story yesterday about how apparently Napier City Council is going to start building houses on a flood-prone piece of land in Riverbend Road, which was incredibly inaccurate and very frustrating for us as council to see that quality of reporting, which, as we could all completely understand, is very upsetting for our community, who now think that council would be doing something so foolhardy. So essentially we have been working with property owners on that Riverbend land site for a number of years, and what we're working through at the moment is whether that piece of land is included in our future development strategy, which we've discussed a few times today in terms of potential sites where housing may be developed. Before that was to happen, however, there is a significant process to work through in terms of ensuring that any development that goes on that site, or in fact any site, has the appropriate mitigation measures and infrastructure in place to ensure that it will not flood. So just, I guess, wanting to provide you with a little bit of further context around that particular site, and that there is still a huge piece of work to go through before there would be any sort of development happening there. So just to give you a little bit of an update on that one. And that applies, as I said, to any piece of land that any developer comes to us wanting to put homes on for our whānau, because none of us want to put our whānau into a house which is prone to flooding. So, yeah.
So was that misinformation?
So it was clickbait reporting. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but basically just having a really sensationalised headline and then reporting in a way that didn't actually reflect what's happening.
Because it can put into people's heads, but you know, it's actually not true or accurate, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. It didn't actually explain exactly what's happening. It just sort of said Napier City Council's going to do this, which is certainly not the case. Thanks, Kurt. Morihu, pass across to you.
Yeah, the team's busy. No one's actually spoken about the 150th anniversary. So.
Oh, we'll leave you.
So at the end of the month, we're receiving our sister city over in Canada, and they going to come and we'll have a pōhiri at Wharerangi Marae. Really interesting time for all of us to be with our Canadian whanaunga. And during that pōhiri process, after hakari that, we're going to actually have our own time with them as per their requests. So there's about 11 of them coming across. And so we're just working on that at the moment. Our Taka project is steaming away. We had a RAG meeting down in Wellington last week, and that was really interesting, getting feedback from our specialist team. The Waka Hub is also trickling along, and we go through all that. Our Kāwatea resources that you have in front of you, so those are the resources that we're getting for all our staff, especially, and yesterday we had today's Wednesday, isn't it? Monday morning we had our pōhiri, and so we're now having a pōhiri with partnership with our PNC team, our HR team, where we have pōhiri, and then after the pōhiri we have inductions. So it goes for half the day. So it's actually really good, and they're having it on our marae. And part of that, our new staff walk away with the resources with waiata, karakia, and we are looking at a version 2 of it, aren't we, Jackie, on looking at hitori, kōrero, and other areas. So we are working the way on doing that. Te Wakarangapu's having a wānanga on Friday. We're going to start re-looking at our strategy, which is live, which is organic. So we're going to have a look at that, and also other areas, what we're going to be doing until July next year. So we had the war walk again last month with a lot of our staff, which was an excellent kaupapa to have. It makes a lot of our people, our staff, awaken on what's actually happened in the past that's been hidden. So we had that. And also, just supporting all our mana whenua and our iwi events that's been coming along. We supported the Toitu Te Reo. We also supported the iwi chairs last week or the week beforehand. And I had the privilege to go down to the Huia iwi with Auntie Evelyn and Mana Ahuriri to listen to the kōrero. Especially our Canadian whānau that came along. I don't know if they're the same ones that are coming to the, I don't know. And giving over the peace pipes to all the different areas. And fortunately for us, we had Uncle Matt to do our karakia. And also we had staff that passed their level 1 and 2 real classes this year. And so one of them's over there. And so we have 2 areas of real learning, so that's really awesome to see in our staff. And even as a small group of staff that are doing it, it's still a lot of staff, and they are very enlightened in their reo. So apart from that, we're looking forward to Christmas.
As is everyone, I think, Morihu. Thank you for that. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Thank you so much, everybody, for your participation and contribution today. It's much appreciated. And Te Wānara, if you don't mind, I'll invite you to close, please.
Kia ora, Rory.
Kia ora.
Te runga tū, te runga tapu. Te urunga o te toko pānia, te urunga o tēnei, te kōrero hake ne ko te Māori, te pariārai ko Matarua hau. Ko te Māori ne, te Mārawa o, a tō tātai tīpuna ne, a kare toki. Ka whakatō i te Māori nei, tō tātai ne, a tipua, a more more. Whakatō ngea tēnei te Māori, i roto i tēnei whare. O rāta ko mene atu ki te pō, ko te rua te kaumā waru ko wehe atu. Ko te Māori e rota i tēnei whare nei, te whakeime mai tātai i rungi te nāka mahake. Ko te Māori ki runga, ki te Māori ki raro, ki te Māori o rangi atu nei, ki te Māori o papa tuanuku. Te Māori te whakawhiwhia, te Māori te whakarawia. Ke i runga i te tāmata mātangi nei atu tiro whiti, whakamaua ki a Tina.
Tina.
Hai mea hui he.
Ai, yeah.
Anei rā.